everybody. Welcome to another episode of In Conversation. Yay! Business Talk South Africa. I am your co-host, Pelele Dlamini, and this is...
Hi everybody, this is Sanile Makoba, your co-host, whatever.
Yeah, it's our show.
Whatever you like. We are the host and co-host, both of us at the same time. But yeah, it's another week of another exciting In Conversation. Conversation. So yeah, let us know, what are we talking about today? Yeah.
So today we're talking about your gift makes room for you. If you guys have been in line with the conversations, then you would know that the first episode of In Conversation was us kind of introducing what we do, who we are, and how Christ is the foundation of this business. And in the second conversation, we were speaking about public reputation management, PR, all those sorts of things. And then we went into your spiritual womb. So that conversation is not concluded. After your spiritual womb, we're now going to get into your gift makes room for you.
Cool. So yeah, so we've got a scripture that's our core scripture when it comes to this conversation. All right. So let's go to Proverbs 18 verse 6. Producer, you will put it down there, right? So everyone can see it. But yeah, it is there back on the screen behind us, right? So it says, a man's gift makes room for him and brings him before great men, right? So yeah, this is exciting. So we're going to look at what different points that we'll dive into, speaking about gifting. We are all gifted and we're all working our gifts. One of the gifts that I believe that I have and I've seen is the gift to teach.
Yeah.
It took a while, but I saw after a period of time when I engage with people, when we share even the word of God, I'm able to see that I'm able to teach, but also under the leading of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
It's not something that I've just taken and said, yeah, this is the gift that I run with. That's very dangerous.
Yeah.
All right. So it's very, very key. I'm mentioning that because this conversation becomes key to say, you've got a gift, then how do you work it? How does it make room for you before great men? What are great men? What access does the gift give you? So we're gonna dive into that.
Yeah. And then I think a little bit from my side is, I think I've said this quite a bit on Business Talk Essay and in conversations, that we are business people. And when God said that I am giving you my spirit, he says it is the spirit of liberation. So business essentially for us is liberation. And that's the perspective that we want to share with business people, to have that mind, to say that, okay, we are now offering you liberation in business. And understanding that from a God perspective is understanding that you will move to different territories, to different domains, different types of businesses. And if you're empowered and you're in partnership with God, then that is essentially liberation. And yeah.
So we're going to dive into our first topic. So it is identifying your gift. So obviously you need to identify your gift. This conversation of gifting is quite deep. Because we go from gifting, we can talk about gifting into calling, how your calling needs gifts and your gifts need to function within a calling, right? But today we're speaking about gifting, so the first point then it is to identify your gift. We had this discussion also on radio the other day, and I was just speaking about how sometimes you find that you're young and you talk a lot, and people keep telling you to say, "Hey, no, ukhuluma kakhulu," and what, they are very negative around that, But sometimes that could be your gift, to say you're actually a person. You're supposed to use that gift to make room for you.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe it's not as bad as people are saying it is. Maybe that's your purpose. Is to speak and then find out, how do I use the speaking gift? Right. Like we are using this platform now. We're talking, and our hope is that someone gets empowered, someone gets revelation, they get knowledge, they hit the next level of their lives, but the gift first has to be identified, right? So what's the process of identifying the gift? First, have a meeting with yourself. What type of person am I? What makes me different from other people, right? And kuluma akulu, okay, That's how I am. Even if I want to stop, I can't. It's the way that I am now. This means that this is a gift that sets me apart from other people. So I've identified it, right? And then the next steps that we'll look at is to then how to refine it and so on and so forth. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but a gift has to be identified, right? And lastly, before I let you jump in, Lily, another thing is I belong to God. So there are some gifts that can be hidden from me until I get into that place of being in the Word of God, being in prayer, being in meditation. Then other gifts that were hidden start to show up because God then starts to show me who I am, because that's what the Word of God does.
Yeah. Okay, so when you were making that incident about how the world will essentially say, you talk too much. Now there's a video and I'm gonna send it to you, Mr. Producer. That dog was a girl, that one that's always in her bed. And then she said, oh, utu babli babi highness. So sometimes people do that. They kind of dim your light. And we know that if we are walking with God, He said that you are the light. And you must be on the mountain, be proud of the gift that He has given you and use it. That's how it makes room for you, right? Yeah. So in terms of identifying your gift, it's identifying key things that you have been doing, things that you are part of that set you apart, essentially. And I think we've had this conversation. Sometimes you'll think, I just like to clean, Yeah. What if it is that orderliness is your gift? You need to be able to identify it and then harness it so that it works for you, especially as an entrepreneur, as a business person. On church on Sunday, they said that we are the solution. As Christians, you are the solution to every single thing that the world needs. Yeah. You just lack the wisdom of God. So you're self-sufficient, but you lack the wisdom of God. Which means that you are gifted enough to solve everything that the world needs. But you do, like Sanele says, you need to have that time where you have that conversation with yourself, and then you also need that time where you are in prayer. Pray about it a lot and ask God, okay, what is it? What is my potential? And don't allow the world to box you in a space of go to school, then do this, then do this, then do this, because that can kind of tarnish what it is that you're doing. Find the purpose in your life, because we are living. And when you are alive, you are purposed, because God says, I have written you. Before I formed you, I knew you. Yeah. And He's the author and the finisher, which means every single thing is in line with what He has already written. Yeah,
as you're talking, it makes me realize how much as business people we need one another. Mm-hmm. We exist in spaces like that's why we've got business events that we go to and we network and we meet one another and we see how we can help one another. Yeah. And it almost feels like, I like what you say, like what you like to often talk about, how people are robbing us of what God has brought them to do on this earth, mm-hmm. by not working whatever those gifts are or whatever it is that they've come to work on this earth. It makes me realize that even us as we exist in business spaces, right, we exist with each other and for one another. So if I don't refine my gift and I don't figure out what it is that is special about me, it's almost like business people, even in a country, the business people within that country are a body that is to help the economy run, right? So if I as a business person am not refining my gift, I don't add to this body. And when I don't add to this body, I'm robbing other business people, because you're a business person, I'm a business person, but we are good at different things. Yeah. And we add to one another. So if you don't spend time identifying what your gift is, you're robbing me. Yeah. In a way, so it's quite big, and it's very, very important that we all understand and identify and be a giver.
Be a giver,
because that's how essential business works. Be a giver, and you give and you receive. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which goes to our next point of refining the gift. Yes. Yeah, I was gonna say learning to learn, but that's last week. Sure. But yeah, refining the gift. Essentially what that means is that now that you've identified it, yes, God can say, and I think this is a conversation we were having earlier, that you might be a pastor, like you know how to teach. Sadil is a teacher, and we do the Bible studies together, so I can say that in a sense you've been teaching me. Yeah. That doesn't mean go open a congregation and just no. Don't do that. That's not what it means. Sure. So refining the gift is allowing God to put you through a process of taking away what is in you that is not going to purpose the gift according to his will, and also understanding how to use it so that it can make room for you, essentially. So maybe the first step is, oh, you're a good teacher, right? But then the calling comes when God knows that you are ready to for him to position you in a place that is not that please, you're not a pastor, you're a businessman.
Thank you.
He knows. I don't want you guys to get confused. Cyril is a businessman, but he does know how to teach in that sense as well. So I think refining your gift is putting yourself and understanding that the relationship with God, especially for me, that's what I've seen, and that's what he's been saying over the last few months, that this relationship is you understanding that I know you are learning. So God is, and we are becoming, right? He is the end point, and we are becoming what he has already written. So that means I submit myself to learning. So I submit myself to always refining myself, becoming as God has said, this is what you are. So as a business person, you will always be a student, you are always a servant, like Sanel said in the previous point. You are always a servant, you're always working to know and understand what it is that you are doing, how to be the best at it. And this is where prayer, meditation, and a relationship with the word are very, very essential, because in that, God is refining you. And I think the one thing that I want to touch on a little bit is that sometimes people think that when I am becoming or I'm refining a gift, I'm doing it for others. Most of the work is going to be internal. There's going to be things in yourself that you need to take, like maybe pride, for example. And an inability to be humble, because sometimes, like, we're business people. Tomorrow I'm here today, tomorrow I might be a billionaire, as I've said many times here. If God doesn't refine humility and pride in me, then I will fail. That's true. So there are most of the stuff that come into refining your gift and refining your service to other people. It's going to be internal work.
I love that. There has to always be an inner work before there is an outer work, and I think the inner work is the most important work before there's an outer work. Jesus said, do business until I come, right? Do business until I return, So it means that to do is to be active, So when you're placed, like we're placed in a field, right? We are placed in the marketing field, right? The way to refine ourselves is to do business in that field, right? Whether there's a customer or not, marketing means we need to market ourselves. We need to market this show. We need to market this podcast, right? We need to market who we are. People need to know who we are, right? So we have to be engaged in business, whether there's a client or not. So the engagement refines us, because we get better and better the more we do it, right? And he said, be doers of the work, right? Be doers. So you've got to be the best way of learning. I think we spoke about this last week. We were talking about learning to learn. The best way and the highest level of learning is the doing, right? And the doing refines you, right? You have to make mistakes, you have to fall, you have to fail, and that's where the refinement process takes place. So even when as we're talking about gifting today, even when you've found the gift, right, work it, fail, and maybe there'll be times when you think, maybe it's not my gift, right? God forbid the guys shoot the show and they didn't press record there. If they had made if they had made such a mistake, the way they will feel after making that mistake, they will never. It's a conversation that they'll have. Okay, we've got Shane and Owen shooting here at the back. Say hi, guys. Hi. So if they were to make such a mistake, it would be a tough lesson, but it's the refinement is happening in the doing, right? Obviously, we will also shout at them. We'll shout at you guys if you do that. We'll also shout at them, and that will refine them. So refining the gift is not always going to look rosy and nice. It's also going to take mistakes, failures, hardships. They're going to wake up one day and not want to do what you're gifted to do. So also it happens with us. We spoke about a client, I think, in the first in conversation, where they were sending us back and forth. But what was happening in the back and forth? Refinement was happening. So you've got to refine the gift, but it's not going to look rosy doing that. And key, and I'll repeat this again, there has to be an inner work before there's an outer work.
And I think when you start to just to re-emphasize this part, when you start to do business with God, man, it's such a beautiful thing, because what's happening to us, like Sanele is saying, we have a marketing agency, right? But where do you guys always see us on Business Talk, we are learning to market ourselves. And in this act, we are refining ourselves. And this is an act of service. We don't charge people to come to the shows. We don't charge anyone to produce the shows, but we are serving the environment so that we can be better at what we do. So then when we say that we can handle clients, we know because we've been handling ourselves for a while. So I think also when you do business with God, he puts you in those situations where you are doing the work, and then your act of service refines the gift that he's calling out of you. Because I'm very shy. Can tell.
It's a lie. It's a lie.
I'm very shy. But here I am, I can speak, and nothing, essentially, even the conversations on the radio, essentially they were refining us. And we've been on radio since last year, and we are there every single week. And that's how we're able to have the conversation on In Conversations. We started this 4 weeks ago. So that process was refining us. And that's why you must pray. You must pray, you must have a word life, and you must have a relationship with God, because he directs you and he puts you in spaces and environments that refine what he's doing. And I don't think we knew that we would be doing this.
Yeah, no, we didn't. And really the process has had a lot of inner working. You step into spaces where you think until you start doing the work, then you realize, I've got a lot to learn. And we're learning about many things. This platform, we are learning about social media even more. Because when we take these things out and we put them on social media, the platforms, and also because it's an environment that changes consistently, so it pushes you to be in a state of learning. So refinement takes humility, because then you have to stay in a state of learning. And we are Christian business people. The Christian life is a life of learning. When you arrive, you die. And I believe that also with the business life, when you think you've arrived, that's your death, because business will always teach you and move you from one sphere to another, one level to another. So the moment we think we know, we come out of the process of refining and we get into a process of dying. Because the environments we operate in are consistently changing and refining themselves. If we don't join that, we will die, and it'll kick us out. That's the sad part, is that it'll spit you out, because you're no longer fit. You are old in an environment that's consistently becoming new and new and new. Refinement is
very, and I like what you said, guys. It takes humility. You will fail, because then you'll become too proud. Now we can't, and we spoke about this, we extended on it intensively last time, but humility, that's the only way that you're gonna get far, right? Because I speak about it all the time. The fact that I'm in marketing, I've submitted myself to learning marketing from a business consulting standpoint. So with the businesses that come into it, I make sure that I'm learning the systems, learning and understanding what they're doing, so that when it's time and the money is there, I'll have a restaurant, I'll have a gym, I'll have a coffee shop, all of these big different things. But that came from
you've touched them, because you've experienced.
So and it took humility to say, okay, I'm learning, and I'll always be learning. So
and also I love how this then leads to our next point, because when you're being refined, what is increasing?
Value.
That's right.
Value.
So
the next point is understanding value proposition.
All right. So we all have a value proposition. Basically, what can I bring to an environment? As I say again, the producers at the back are shooting the show, and that's the value that they are bringing to this part. We are in front of the camera and we are speaking. That's the value that we bring to this part. But the more we are working our gift, we've identified it, we are working it, we are refining it, it's growing in value, right? And I like one of the examples you made of it to say, when was it? Last week we had a guest from Tembisa. Week before last week was Mandela Day. So week before last, we had a guest from Tembisa, and this guest found out about us from someone else and then called us wanting to be on the show. We didn't reach out to them. We are working the gift. That's what we are doing. And by working the gift, the value is moving out, because when they saw it, when they engaged with our platform, they said, I must be on that platform. No one wants to go where they don't see value, right? It means that they saw value right? So you need to first identify what your value proposition is, which goes back to the first point: identify the gift, refine the gift, then you'll see what the value in that gift is, and work on that value.
Yeah, and I think the one thing about value proposition, guys, is as you are refining the gift, it ups your value. There's going to be spaces and places that we get, like initially when we started going to networking events, we were going to one type of event, but now the spaces that we're invited to, because of also the caliber of guests that comes here, right? We then get put, our value is higher, then people start to value us and say, I think you need to show your face at this place, at this place, at this place. Like Sifa was talking about it, that she's going to have that I Am Everything conference soon, and we're invited there. We're VIP guests.
Yes.
Yeah, like,
levels.
no, we are, but like not in a we don't boast. But yeah, I think the value increases according to how much you are dedicated to refining the gift. And again, I was boasting there just to joke, guys. Humility is the most essential thing. You must remain humble. And every single space, now we even know that we are learning. So we know that when we get to that conference, we are there to learn. We are not there to be business talk because we have a show all the time. No, we are there to take and understand from them. Hence, we also have business talk conversations because we are learning from the entrepreneurs that we have conversations with all the time. So value proposition is increased. The more that you learn, the more value you are given, essentially. Yeah.
And also with value, with that said, I know a lot of people quickly jump to money, right? Your gift, it does say that it will make room for you
Financially.
Around great men. And financially, yes, but also great men are also the people that carry the currency, right? The currency, the money currents, so the currency, so they carry that. So the strategic positioning of the gift, how it positions you, it will position you in those places where the value also becomes monetary. But I believe the biggest value is the places you get found in, as you're speaking there about the I Am Everything conference, right? The caliber of person that will be there is us working the gift takes us and puts us in a space with that caliber of person. Right now we are operating in a space with that caliber of person, right? Because the person that invited us there said, I see your value and I think you belong there, right? But it's not that we went out and tried and forced our value on them. We are working the gift, and then that gift takes you and puts you in such spaces, right? But ours is then to, again, we don't become proud. We continue to work the gift because it shows us, it's telling us, it's talking to us saying, I'm your gift and I have potential to put you in spaces. And you've worked me to this degree to get to this space. Keep working me and I'll blow your mind as to where I can take you. Right? And that's the value of your gift. Don't take it lightly. It can take you to places you've never imagined it would take you. But work it with God. God is the giver of the gift. It came from Him. So if you don't know the giver, it's kind of difficult to work the gift without His direction, because He's the one telling you how to work the gift. We didn't know we'd be doing a lot of the things that we do, right? But we always come back to surrender ourselves before God. It's the key to our lives and our business life and our trajectory in business is surrender. And surrender and humility are friends.
Surrender and humility are friends. And I think what you were saying about your gift making room for you, your gift, it's like it's like an external conversation. And I think biblically they would say wisdom. What you lack is the wisdom of God, and wisdom cries out to you to say, please use me. I am the ability to do every single thing according to where you're going. Because if we speak about wisdom, wisdom was there at the beginning with God creating all of the earth. So when you have your gift, you're refining yourself into using the wisdom of God to become according to what He's saying. So as a business person, when you are not friends with God and you're not friends with wisdom, then you are cheating yourself and you're cheating us of who you can become. So understanding your value proposition is also understanding that my standard and my value is God, because He gave us Christ and He made Him who was not sin to be sin for us, and He died for us. So my value is God. So when you start to level your value proposition and you're understanding it from I am working the gift according to what Christ has valued me, and I'm working the gift according to what God is authoring in me, then you're able to understand that, okay, firstly, I was little because God is God and you are not God, and He understands and knows all things. So now you have to be humble and submitted to what He's doing. And then also you take yourself to a place of learning, always learning from Him, always understanding, and you ask for wisdom. There's sometimes where we don't know what to do. When we're stuck, we always say, okay, God, what is it that you want to do? And I think the most beautiful thing about a relationship with God is that He really answers every single question. I think I started noticing a while ago with the Bible studies that we do. Sometimes Sonia will say something, I'll be like, yeah, I don't understand. Now just like a quick question will pop into my head.
Yeah.
Then 3 Bible studies later, there's the answer. And I'm like, thanks, because then He's refining me, and most of the work is internal anyways.
Yeah.
Understanding who you're becoming.
Yeah, no, that's really, really very important. That last part also saying that the work is internal, because that's what I've discovered. You go into business and you think, yeah, no, now I'm in the field and now I am ready. And then God says, there's this in you, there's that in you, there's that in you, there's that in you. Yeah. It's not an issue for God to prosper you, but the inner working,
you're gonna be ready.
It has to be done. And the more inner working, the more valuable you are. Right? It's God who determines where He takes the value that is refined in you. Right? He's the one who places you in spaces. So this part of value proposition is permitting to transform you, allowing, placing you in spaces is easy for Him, but be ready, because He wouldn't place you in a space that will destroy you. You can place yourself, but He wouldn't place you in a place that will destroy you, right? If you're not ready for that to sign that $1 million deal, if it's going to destroy you, then wait and allow Him to work in you until you are ready for that, right? And there's a process with God. It's step by step by step, So that's why surrender and humility are very, very important. And don't stop working. Work.
Yeah, always work.
Yeah. Cool.
Nice. Well, you put
go to our next point, which is
people are portals. And I think Sanel he's been hinting, hey, you wanted to go there so bad. But people are portals. And in line with the topic, your gift makes room for you. With great men, I think people become portals. It's understanding that their value takes you to a different level. So people are portals. Yeah. But I like how you explain.
Yeah, no, for real, people are portals. God knows where the money is. And He knows where the business deals are. Yeah. And He knows who you should be doing business with. Right? So the refinement is so that you are ready to step into rooms and have conversations with these people and give them the value that He has worked in you. Right? So when we say people are portals, I'll make an example. There are people that we meet, behind them is another level of business. Right? Because when we meet them, the caliber of person behind them is another standard for business for us, right? So they are a portal into a higher network. Yeah. Right? So people are portals into the people are portals. There are people who are portals into the currency of this country, right? Unless you meet those people, there are levels of the currency of this current country that you will not access, right? And that's why your gift makes room for you before great men, right? So these are the people that when you talk to them, you access that level of the currency, and now you can operate in that dimension and realm when it comes to business. Yeah. Right? So we need to know, and that's why God works in us. Sometimes people, it's not that a person, especially a person, the great man that the Word of God talks about, it's not necessarily that they are looking for your gift. They know that the guys shooting the show, they shoot very well. Maybe they might have seen some episodes and they say, wow, they do a great job. And then they say, I want to meet those guys. And when the guys step in, they're not dressed appropriately for that space. When they open their mouths, they speak in a way that the person says, there is no way I'm going to take you to my network. Yeah. Your articulation, your etiquette is just not fit for the space. I'm not really looking necessarily for what you can do. I'm looking for how you're going to present me in the space where I'll take you, in the network where I'll take you, and most great men think like that. They say, yes, fine, I can get 10 of you who can work this gift the same way, but do you have the right etiquette to function in my network or not? And if you fail that part, right, sometimes it's just a simple thing where they say, I need this at this time, and you deliver one day late, you failed, you won't access. his network, and now he was the portal into that network, but you've missed it because you've done one thing wrong, right? So it's great to work the gift and all of that. Work it, be excellent with your gift, but also understand to clothe your gift with the right etiquette, with the right attitude, with the right, there's an attitude for certain spheres.
Yeah.
Right. Petrus Mutsipo won't allow you into his network if you don't have the right etiquette. That's what he's looking for. So clothe your gift with the right thing and understand that people are portals into these networks.
Yeah. And as you're speaking, I'm thinking about that Betway thing that just happened with the PSL.
With the PSL, big money deal. Yeah.
Yeah. What's his name?
Ivan Koza, Dr. Ivan Koza.
Yes. So Dr. Ivan Koza was saying that Betway has been trying to communicate with him with regards to the PSL since like 2018. And now it's 2024, and that's when that deal happened. And now it's 900 million that they've given to the PSL. But Betway knew that he was the portal.
They needed him.
To that. They needed him.
Yeah.
And because he also understands the power and authority that he has, he knew that he was the portal. So he even said in 2022, they said, why are you ignoring me? Imagine Betway. They're also big and they also have stature.
Company.
Yeah, they also have a stature. But the person who was liaising for Betway had to follow him, constantly saying, now we want the deal, now we want the deal. And if they didn't wait, because now I think in soccer, there's a lot of big things happening.
Yeah.
Paris is in Spain, Sundowns is somewhere else. Now our league is at a very much valuable place.
Sure.
So now we have the 900 million rand.
Yeah.
But at that point in time, Ivan Kozane, he knew that, okay, at that point in time, the value wasn't at the right place. That's why you need to understand your value proposition. And then also, I like a very important thing that Sanela said here is that you need to clothe the gift. On Sunday, our prophet said that when he was teaching, he said that in your waiting, make sure that you dress, make sure that you clean, make sure that in your waiting you are presentable, because men looks at outward appearance.
Yeah.
It is God that sees the heart. So God is not, he doesn't necessarily look at your outside, but he also knows that men look at outward appearance. That's something that God knows. It's a principal thing. If you don't present yourself, then you're not allowing the gift that you've been given to take you to the places that God needs you to be in, because the kingdoms of this world have become the kingdom of his Christ. That's in Revelation. But we are then, our duty as Christian people is that we are subduing principalities, dominions, and domains. How do you do that if you are not able to bring yourself and open up where God is putting you? So now I can put the president in front of you, but if you're not presentable and you don't have the articulation and you don't make sure that you are purposing the gift and also presentable, then how do you enter that gate?
Yeah.
See, so I think another big thing that we're learning about wisdom at church now, they said in the season of waiting, God is working in you, but you are also a servant. And understanding that you're a servant means that you don't wait. You don't wait idly. You wait and you remind God, okay, God, this is the word that you have over my life, but also in the way that you present yourself. You can't now go everywhere you go. You don't understand your value and you're bringing yourself down. You're a child of God. You are the solution to the world's problems. So in each and every stance of your life, even if you don't feel like you have made it according to your own standards, it's an understanding that I'm partnered with God. So even in every single Business Talk episode, we have to make sure that we dress correctly. I always have my makeup on. These guys know me. Do I have my makeup on every day? No. Only on the show, because I understand that it's important for this part. It's not even a wolf thing, insecurity. I know I'm pretty and I could come here barefaced.
Yes,
but I do understand that the level of the show where I want it to go, I need to present myself in a way that is presentable, because men look at outward appearance. So, I think, I don't want to use the word lazy, but let's not be idle. Let's not sit back and think, okay, because I pray, because I do everything, then God will just be the one that opens the doors. No, he's given you a gift, and he gives you wisdom and understanding on how to purpose that gift. And then he also tells you that men looks at outward appearance, right? So in every single, and I could go on and on and on about how this is very, very important.
Sure.
But even when we learn about Solomon, you can see that when he was building the house for God, everything was perfect and beautiful.
Yeah.
Gold, the servants, everybody's dressed like beautifully.
And
right?
who did it attract? What caliber of person did his etiquette, his cleanliness attract? You know,
The queen.
That's very very key when you speak about how men looks at outward appearance. There's a lot of wisdom in that. You know, like for example, you're speaking about the PSL deal, right? Ivan Koza said these people followed him around so much that they even met at a UEFA Champions League match. You know, a ticket to that game. They made sure that they have the ticket, and he strategically set himself behind Ivan Kos so that he can tap people on the shoulder and say, why are you ignoring me? You know, I want this deal with you. You
And
know?
that was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, and there could be a lot of things that Dr. Ivan Koza was thinking about, which probably now he understands more the value of Betway, because he could have thought, betting companies with my brand.
Yeah.
It might not be a thing I want to do, you know, and that's why he might have stalled for so many years. You know, I know you have the money, but I'm thinking about the brand, and connecting it with your brand might not be a thing I want to do, right? But they pressed on, they positioned themselves, right? And obviously, when you enter into those spaces, I don't think Ivan Koza sits in a normal seat when he goes and watches the UEFA Champions League final. He's probably sitting in a box, right? There's a way you dress in a box. I've had a box ticket for a soccer match. You get your ticket, you get a whole description of you need to dress this way. You know, it's written down like this. So, you know, when you go to that caliber of person, right? So I can't dress and put on my soccer shirt and my shorts. They won't let me. With my ticket, they'll turn me back and say no. So it's key that we also speak about that, to say man looks at outward appearance. Let's not just look at that in the word of God and say, yeah, no, God doesn't care about the outside. No, he doesn't. No, he cares. He's giving you wisdom to say, when you come before men, be presentable for what they look for, but let me work on the heart as well.
Mr. Producer says time.
Are we out of time?
5 minutes. Okay.
So
all right, transitional strategy.
Yeah, so it's the packaging of your gift for where you want to go. I think it's very linked to the previous point. So you package it for where you want to go. So how we package this show for social media is a transitional strategy, because we are moving it into different spaces, you know. So it's basically, just to quickly wrap up this point, it's packaging the gift for where you want to take it.
Yeah. And then on my side, I think transitional strategy is also understanding that God said, I am giving you a new mind, right? The mind of his Christ. We have received the mind of his Christ. So that is transitioning you, because there are places where your own abilities as a person, you're going to get angry, you're going to be too proud. There's things that they don't fit into the many different rooms he wants to put you in. So transitional strategy, it again is humility and a very living prayer and word life, because those two things, they're not separate. And that is also understanding that I'm coming into the nature of Christ, which is a sound mind, love, and power, right? So when you're transitioning yourself as a business person and you're not submitted to God, you're also going to miss those key things that bring out what he needs and what is going to be acceptable for a different realm, a different reality, a different space, right? So transitional strategy, I think for us, has been our word life.
Yeah.
That's where we're transitioning. That's where we're becoming. That's where we are refining ourselves. But also, like Sanela said, transitional strategy for a business is also understanding that this is Business Talk South Africa. When we have Business Talk New York, there's going to be New York things. And we need to transition and understand how to package that in terms of our social, in terms of our camera, in terms of the quality and the etiquette and the conversation.
Yeah.
And I think what we were speaking about when we had this point on radio is, if you're looking at like Trevor Noah, right? He transitioned from a South African comedian, meaning he was actively speaking Xhosa, Zulu, all the languages in his delivery. But now when he gets to America, it doesn't make sense to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he had to repackage himself.
Yeah, he had to repackage himself. So understanding that your gift makes room for you is also submitting yourself to the process of constantly repackaging, constantly re-strategizing. You are never perfect anyways. And if you're building a legacy, you need to understand that there's always going to be new growth, new way.
Right. So with that said, that is this week's show. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined us, and we'll see you next time with a guest.
Yes,
cheers, everybody.
Great. This has been Business Talk South Africa, in conversation, imploring the world on Christ's behalf. That's my favorite verse. And that's what's written over there. And that's what the producer's gonna write, chat. So yeah. Thank you.